This is a vision I was given Sunday the 3rd, 2019. I saw a gold cloak that was golden, sparkly, glittery type cloak. And it was taken off and laid upon the ground. And a woman who was tall and brunette had her hair up in a bun like a ballerina would have. She was dressed in a cream-colored outfit that had a sheer veil over it. She appeared to be on the shores of a beach, which to me resembled the beach on Whiskey Creek in part. She was down on the shore where the water meets the rocks, and the rocks were like river rocks. They were all different sizes, and she began to dig out, moving large boulders, medium-sized rocks, small rocks, until she had sort of a medium-sized hole, maybe, and she began to dig out, and then she reached into this hole, and she pulled out some gold pieces, and she looked at them in her hand. And at first I thought they might be keys, but they didn't resemble a key. They were just gold pieces. She began to climb up the mountain or hill that led up to the top. There was a small, 30 feet. She began to climb up this hillside, I'll say. And once she got above the rocky part, she was then on a sandy desert type floor. And when she began to climb up the sand or desert, the way that she was walking was strange. She was walking in strange ways, and the strangeness of her walking caused her to drop the gold. And the gold fell into the sand, and almost like a funnel or quicksand, it sank into the sand, not to be found. And then she continued to climb up to the top of this hill or mountain. She then had in her hand a shofar, and she blew its horn. And then she looked out over the sea and had a hand above her brow, as if she were looking for something. The sea then began to part. And as it parted, you could see many, many people walking through from all different places, all different parts of the earth, all different tribes. They came through on foot. They came through holding boats that almost looked like Viking ships of sorts. They came through on elephant. They were all different types of people. One thing that happened that I noticed was a man climbing up the rocks, reaching the sand part of the mountain. He saw a gold ring with a jewel in it, and he reached down to grab it. And immediately, and he was, I would say, he was well off. He looked like he had a turban on and like jewels already, so he looked like he might have been wealthy. He reached down to grab this ring, and immediately I could see him turn to dust. And when I say see him, I mean every part of him. I watched his veins fill with dust. I watched every part of this man turn to dust until he was no more. And then I saw everyone else just climbing to the top of this mountain. And when they met with the woman, they greeted her with a hug and embrace. And she was happy to see all the people come. And as she greeted them, she then she turned around and showed them which way to walk, and they walked up the hill. And I would say this is the part sort of that reminded me of Whiskey Creek. It was literally on the, I saw a cabin, and then I saw her standing next to that cabin, and then she showed them to go up the hill there. But the hill about where you guys have, or Rachel and Tim have, like a little sandbox. It was just a hill, a giant hill. There were no homes. It was just this hill. And upon this hill was a huge banqueting table, and a feast was prepared. And you could see at the far end of the table was Jesus' seat. And he had risen when they came. And he had risen to accept and embrace all these people that came, and they saw him, and they'd run to him, and they'd hug him. And the woman would just usher them in towards Jesus. And this was the end of that vision.